Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Nick Reynolds, Steve Harness, and Cousin Brewski. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Take one.
It's another day, another dollar. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve Brewski is still dollarless in this podcast universe.
Say it's another day, and we're waiting for another dollar still. So
putting in that work, dude. Putting in that work.
That's right, Bruce. You got to put the work in, dude. I'm not expecting to make it overnight, but it's been better part of a couple of decades by now. Yeah. So, come on, where's that money? Yeah. Show me the money.
Follow us on various social media accounts, all of the good ones, of course.
What are they?
Let's see. We got YouTube, we got TikTok, we got Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever the hell that thing's called. Instagram, and then something that's still out there called Threads.
Called Threads? It's still lagging in the polls, huh?
It's out there, and everyone seems to have lost interest. And by the way, as soon as Twitter X starts charging, I'm done.
Yeah.
That is a slippery slope. I don't care if he charges $1 a year. I'm not paying for social media.
The other thing that's going to happen is that you're going to lose a lot of fans, too, sports fans, because a lot of sports fans go to Twitter for sports news now.
Really? Yeah. I mean, it's become a platform for communicating all things from, presidential polls to sports to, we don't want to pay for it, dude. You get us with ads. You're not going to get us to sign up for it. Come on.
Yes. And it's a slippery slope. You start charging $1 so you can prove you're not a bot. That's going to keep just going up and up and up. And they're already offering tiers, and new subscribers now would have to pay to see anything. Like, no, F that. Done.
It'll be a nightmare, dude, because think about how much time you put into building a history with a page of social media. Yeah. Like, if I lose one of my accounts right now, I mean, it's over almost a decade and a half in some cases of, history, memories, events, work.
Absolutely. It's the only really reason I'm on Facebook is to archive my life and have all that, that catalog there. So, yes, Zuck, please don't start charging, bud, because I will walk away from you. And there's a whole bunch of dead stuff there that I don't want dead. So,
Elon Musk was making the rounds. He was on Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan's podcast about a week ago or so, but Rogan engaged him about the Zuckerberg Musk cage match fight, like what happened with it, why did it die down, and
Musk realized he would lose.
Musk started talking crap again. He was like, I told Zuck. He kept calling him just Zuck. I told Zuck anywhere, anytime, any day, but it needs to be in a cage. And I've actually got people that have stepped up and said we can do it inside the Roman Colosseum, and he will not meet me there.
Please. I mean, first of all, I'm sure he could buy the Coliseum and do whatever he wants there. So
he's not liquid enough to buy that.
Well, but he's buddies with the Saudis, you're always telling us. So
that's true.
Do you think he could rent it?
Maybe.
Throw kid parties there, I think.
Although there is one other thing we need to remember.
Sure.
Zuckerberg just tore his ACL.
Ah, darn it. Zuck's out of the game.
I mean, Zuck's actually been training and working out. Apparently entered some tournament anonymously and won the thing.
Wow. Yeah, no, he looks more like a guy who sits down with serious, I don't know, is he jiu-jitsu or I don't know what he practices. But
BJJ probably.
Is that blowjob job?
No, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Oh, jiu-jitsu, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all know you'll kick his ass. So heal up and get to it, Zuck.
All right, yeah, Nick, Steve, Brewski on the show here. And Brewski is the giver of gifts. He's like one of the wise men that delivers frankincense and mirth, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right. But I'm excited to say this week at the Harness House we had a big package arrive here from none other than Cousin Brewski for my son Crosby.
Oh, it was a son present only.
Testing
for Mr. Testing right there. So, yeah, I think this may come up on the show actually, right? Didn't we talk about this? Brewski had found a I don't know, thrift shop
early on in the podcast. Yeah, on the Goodwill site, he found he sent us a guitar that he had found, and he knew that Crosby had just started playing guitar.
Yes, indeed. So, Brewski's always thinking of others, always sending off nice little packages. And so this box shows up in my house, and I call Crosby out, and I'm like, hey, dude, come on out here. He comes out of his video gaming hole and he's like, yeah. I'm like, go check out that package over there. And, this box, you can't fold up a guitar. So it's guitar length and guitar size. It's a big box. And he's just like, what is that? I'm like, go look at the label. And he looks at the label. And the first thing he says is, can I say your name, Brewski?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, who's Jason Fisher?
We don't know. Oh, that's Brewski. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Brewski. He's like, why do you call him Brewski if his name is Jason? And I'm like, that's a whole different story, dude. We focus on what we're doing here.
Yeah.
He reads the next line, which is, it said something like Jason Fisher, a.k.a. Cousin Brewski.
Yeah.
So he's like, what? Why? What? Okay. So he opens up the box and I told him.
Tear into it, or was it a nice, delicate opening?
No, it was more like, am I defusing a bomb here? Like his dad's setting me up for something? Because he kind of hesitantly was cutting it open and looking inside. And he peels off the first layer of bubble wrap and he's like, there's a guitar in here. I'm like, yeah, right. He's like, Brewski sent me a guitar.
Yes, he did, dude.
And I'm like, yeah. I said, Brewski's a big, he does thrift stores and Goodwill pawn shops, and he found a guitar and he thought of you. I said, Brewski loves that you're always defending him as, Brewski deserves, more attention and stuff on the show. And Crosby's like, I'm going to make a T-shirt that says "Justice for Brewski." This Brewski deserves more. He gave me a guitar. Yeah, dude, bring it on out of there. And so he starts unpackaging the box and gets the whole guitar out. And yeah, I mean, he was wide-eyed of like, this is a guitar.
It's mine, dude. It's my guitar.
It's pretty cool. And I was like, listen, dude. I said, yeah, no, it's a super nice thing he did. I was like, Brewski's really into handwritten notes. So we're going to have to actually get out the quill and ink. And
no, he doesn't have to do that. That's okay.
He's going to do it. Did you get
my note?
Well, so first of all, I told him we're going to write Brewski a little thank you note, but I don't have paper. I have scrap paper around the side. I don't have paper to write a note on. So
nice paper, lined paper.
No. I wrote it on copy paper. My note to you and Crosby.
Yes.
Let's just spray it with some cologne, dude, and use copy or paper. It'll be fine.
Right. So then Brewski, my son Crosby, as I'm explaining all this about Brewski, he finds the handwritten note that goes along with the guitar. And he's like, hey, you're right. He is a handwritten note. I was like, I don't know what the note says. Go ahead and start reading it. So he opens it up. He's kind of mumble reading. He's like, Nuno Betancourt. I'm like, is there a reference to Nuno Betancourt in your letter?
Yes, I can probably say that there was.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, Nuno's a guitar player. He plays Washburns. That's, I'm trying to explain the reference to him. And then he's like, he keeps kind of reading and mumbling. He's like, what's Bill and Ted? Who are Bill and Ted?
Oh, he's too young, dude. You've dropped the ball, Arnes. He doesn't know who Bill and Ted is?
No. And I realized Bill and Ted is in this black hole of old movies. I don't ever see that on, the streaming platforms and whatnot. And I was like, listen, son, before Neo was in the Matrix, he was a stoner, excellent.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In a time traveling movie where he's a stoner surfer dude. My son's just like, there's a lot of references in this letter that I don't seem to, be picking up on. But,
It's vast as a vault of those references, young Crosby.
Well, Brewski and I have said the problem with dating, out there in the world is people, if they're younger, don't seem to pick up on all the references.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was dissecting some of the references for him.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But no, dude, I mean, he thought it was amazing. And I told him, dude, if you want to, put stickers on this thing, you want to slap some paint, you can have that. It's your guitar, customize it, do what you want. And,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. And he was like, really? I've always wanted a green guitar. I'm like, let's paint it then. Let's put some stuff there.
Yeah, do it.
So awesome. He's super excited to customize this thing, and it immediately inspired him to bust out the guitar.
It worked okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I thought about that after the fact. Wait a minute, I didn't test that before I sent it.
Yeah,
because I don't have an amp or anything here. I mean, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's functioning. And,
good. Well, I'm glad to hear him. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Justice for Brewski. He wants more attention for the great gift giver, Cousin Brewski.
I gotta see that T-shirt, dude. Well, I mean, we should all sincerely be wearing T-shirts that say "Justice for Brewski." I love it, dude. I'm gonna get them made.
There you go. So
Justice.
big hit. He was very taken aback in a flattering sort of way of like, wow, like Brewski. I told him like, everyone feels like they know you from the show, and he knows you're playing and came across this and thought of you, and he was humbled by it. I thought it was super cool, and he's very excited to be able to have a guitar that he can do what he wants with. Because I told him, customize any of my guitars I'm loaning.
No, you have the really nice ones,
right? Until I die, that's still my guitar you're playing. So
good times.
The love was felt for Brewski in the Harness House this week. So
let's give him one of these.
Oh, now you are a champion.
Yes, indeed. Do you know what he sent me? Because, he didn't just send it to me. First of all, he sent Rachel.
What a Brewski clause send you guys?
Yeah, but we got a package with a Life magazine. Who's on the cover, Brewski?
That would be President Eisenhower. Well, General Eisenhower.
Yeah, man. Why would you send that to Rachel?
Because she's a big fan of the former president and his wife, Mamie Eisenhower.
See, that's the thing about Brewski is he remembers, anyone wants a friend like Brewski who remembers like small details from conversations and stores them in the vault. When RBG died, Brewski knew Rachel was a huge fan. So not only did he find this magazine, that had a great artwork on the cover, but he actually sent it in to RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg people, and tried to get it signed to Rachel. Yeah. And they wrote back and said like, she doesn't do that anymore and everything. But I got the note that they wrote back to him, which is cool. But she's got that in a frame in her office. It's cool, dude.
That's funny. Was Eisenhower the president at the time of that Life magazine? Is it that old? I'm saying, like,
yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's from the 50s. Well, I mean, I have a huge collection of Life magazines from 1938 till about 1949 or so. Wow. I'm trying to complete every year for all that. It's a lot.
Dude, we were looking, I mean, the artwork, first of all, the magazine's in great shape. So all the artwork stands and holds true. And it's got some really cool artwork in it. But then the advertisements and stuff like that are also fun to look at. So he sent that to Rachel. Then he sent me a postcard from Graceland. And it was for Elvis's Meatloaf with also a handwritten note on there. And then I got a little guitar pick from the Stax Museum that you went to, which was awesome. And I got a magnet.
That.
I'm trying. I'm trying to remember off
the whiskey
top of my
jug
head.
one.
Yeah, whiskey jug. And then I got a sticker. And what does it say, Brewski?
Darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'. I got a little
Ebony Sam on there or something?
No, it's just one of those things that you see in a store. I thought of Nick right away when I saw it. So that's why I grabbed it.
It's awesome, dude. Well, we're thankful, Brewski. As always, great gifts.
But it's fun to do that kind of thing, It just is.
Yeah.
Very cool. It's some good karma. Speaking of guitar picks you just mentioned, I saw something the other day. It was so hilarious. A musician friend of mine posted. Some pick company out there is making picks, and the name of the pick is Dick. So they're Dick picks.
Oh, wow. That's clever.
And my musician friend had a handful of them. He's like, I'm just sharing a bunch of dick pics with you.
That's
so great.
Funny, dude.
Well, that's good marketing right there. I'll order dick pics. So
yes.
Oh,
yes,
man.
you will.
You never know what will offend out there, and you never know what will intrigue people, which brings me to my next topic, quite frankly. We are always lamenting conservatives out there, and I don't know, we've tried to formulate ways to maybe bridge the gap, ways to talk to them. I know we've tried to explain some of the cult-like things they're in, the brainwashing going on in conservative media. I don't know. So far, it's not working. Have you converted anyone yet?
I have got people to take a little in, not completely convert, but, to take in some different ideas and views on life. And it's never completely successful.
Yeah, that's my first date philosophy, by the way. Just take a little in.
Just the tip is what we tell you to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We are rolling into the holidays, and it's a classic problem of what do you do with your crazy uncle, the crazy aunt at the Thanksgiving table? How do you avoid politics, or how do you address it or whatever? So I came across this article. Talks about things that you should not ever be saying to your Republican family and friends. So
All
maybe
right.
if we learn what not to say, maybe we learn what to say or what to avoid. And I don't know if I agree with all of these things or not. So
Something tells me these are all going to be the important things that need to be said. But yeah, we can't say them because they'll freak out.
right. The first thing on the list that they say you should not be saying to your Republican family or friends is you're just brainwashed by Fox News.
Yeah.
This is one of the truths we're trying to get out there, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like talking to one of your kids. That's how you have to look at it. Is you have to ease into these things. You can't just, start with, you're brainwashed.
I hate that we have to take baby steps with our conservative friends and family, but Fox News is brainwashing. They call themselves fair and balanced to trick you. They're not. They know they're not. It's propaganda. But I feel like if we could just explain that to people, they'd be like, oh, I'll stop watching Tucker then, or whoever's on Hannity or whatever, but no.
You know what Trump said, dude? I love the poorly educated. And that's exactly why,
Yes.
Gawker actually many years ago had a great article that I go back to and I share with people a lot. And it was called Roger Ailes' Blueprint for Fox News. And they actually have the handwritten notes that he wrote when he was working for Richard Nixon in the White House about a TV news network. And it's handwritten notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he saw years ago the influence of the media and of repetition of advertising, and he thought, what if there was a news network that only sung our praises and our talking points over and over? And,
Just like Jeff Bezos laid it all down on a cocktail napkin, and now we have Amazon. That's just how it all started. I mean, it was planned very, very, very well.
Yeah. This article says, telling them that they're brainwashed by Fox News. This comment shuts down open dialogue faster than Aunt Edna could say, pass the gravy. The accusation assumes that your relatives can't think for themselves, which is insulting. It's always better to say nothing than to say this. I just don't know if I agree. Like, I feel like I got to explain to people that you're being brainwashed, but no one in the cult wants to hear they're in the cult, right?
Listen, that can come into the conversation at some point, but I don't think you can start with it because they will shut down real quick and just be like, oh, we're having one of those conversations. Right. But if you can prove a few things to them, like that radio host we were talking about that had been in the cult for a couple of years and was reading a story and acknowledged in the middle of the story that, oh, I'm in a cult. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, I think you got to get them there with a few big things to show them. Like, you don't see this, huh?
It's kind of like a drug addict or an alcoholic. They say you can't snap them out of it. They have to hit rock bottom on their own and see the light,
Right.
So, but yeah, it's a long
frustrating
way to the bottom. One of the other things we talk about on the show a lot, and Brewski, you bring this up, of like, what's this whole, take my country back or get back to the good old days? Like, what are they really talking about there?
What I think they mean is they want to go back to before we even had things like African Americans being able to vote. Right. And women having to have permission from their father or their husband to have a bank account and things like that.
Yes. So the next thing they say is, do not say, well, you must be racist if you support these policies. I mean, they are racist, sexist policies, but they're saying, don't point that out. Don't tell them.
Hard. I mean, and maybe these are not don't point out because you have to do it at some point. Maybe these just aren't lead-offs.
I guess. It says blanket accusations of racism will only result in hurt feelings and maybe a face full of pumpkin pie. Political affiliations don't define one's stand on race equality. I don't know that I believe that in this day and age.
Yeah, when I see most of these people that say, let's make this country great again, that type of thing, the very least of their things in their mind are, let's make this nation white dominant again. You know what I mean? Like, you see all these stories of like, oh, in 10 years, white people are going to be the minority. And that scares the crap out of those people,
Yeah.
It's a lot of fear mongering on that side, from gay people, transgender to politics. It's ridiculous.
And shouldn't that be an admission of guilt? If you feel that way, if you're like, well, I don't want more black people than white people in this country, shouldn't that be an acknowledgement that you treat them differently than you treat white people?
Yes, you clearly look at them differently, and it has to be negatively. Otherwise, why would you care if they're equal or greater in numbers?
Right.
I mean, this article seems to be saying, tell someone they're on fire without pointing out the flames. Like, it seems to me like, hey, you're on fire is the quickest way to get through to them. But
or just, a stop, drop, and roll, but you should stop. and
Daily
drop.
stop.
Roll if you want to.
Yeah.
I'm
not forcing you or anything.
No.
So, yeah, don't point out that their policies are based on race. And the next thing they say is don't tell them that you're greedy and you only care about rich people, because obviously your Republican relatives are just twirling their villainous mustaches while counting their gold coins, right? Well, I don't know that I like who wrote this article because, again, how do you not point out that there's greed in so many of these things and racism in so many of these things? It's what there are.
These are really tough subjects, but at the same time, they're conversations that have to be had sometimes. You know, I don't think that we, like Nick said, I don't think you lead in with it. But if the opening is there, maybe you kind of get in there, you know?
Listen, maybe with coworkers, but the article is about friends and family. There should be enough of a foundation there that we can speak realistically, right?
When I have conversations with my brother, I always say that he's a conservative, and when we have conversations, it's a fantastic opportunity for both of us to be able to have conversations with somebody and say all the things we need to say and walk away still loving each other, because we're trying to have a productive conversation. And that can't be had with a lot of people. So when I do talk to my brother about that, I mean, I can't tell you guys how many times that the argument of, like, he'll say, I got more money in my bank account. You know, I like to have more money in my bank account. And I've said, like, that little amount of more money in your bank account is worth, like, human rights, like the trade-off is worth it. Yeah. And there's certain things that he says yes about. Yeah. Like, that's not my problem. Yes.
Well, at least he's being honest about it then. So.
Yeah, exactly.
This article is written by somebody named Kendall Morgan, who, Bruce, I don't know if you can Google her or whatever, but I'd be willing to bet this woman's got to be conservative or married to, like, she's clearly trying to defend conservatives. Oh, you liberals, take it easy on them. Don't call them out on their stuff. The next one is don't tell them that they're against progress. Again, labeling us as, you know, liberal progressives, like, they try to demonize progress. And that's what being a liberal is being progressive. And conservative, by definition, is being against progress. Conservative, hold back, stay the same.
Why try that in a small town? I mean, it is. Like, keep things how they were. Like, things have gotten too out of control. That's their whole platform.
Make America great again, meaning go backwards to where it used to be.
And when you ask those idiots that say that, when was America great? Was it like during slavery? Was it when women couldn't vote? Like, yeah, if you didn't point out those things to make them look stupid, they would say yes. Like, let's go back to the 50s. Let's go back to the 40s, you know.
It's the definition between being liberal and being conservative. Liberals are progressive. And yes, conservatives don't want that kind of progress. So I'm not sure how to bridge any of these gaps if you're not willing to point out that, hey, that's a little racist, it's a little greedy, that's anti-progress. Like, yeah.
Maybe the conversation is more of, like, you know, having an actual looking for a back and forth to say, like, how do you consider what's happening or happened, you know, with Donald Trump as progress? Like, and honestly listen to their answer, because progress to them is different, obviously, than it is to a lot of us.
So that's a great point right there. And this article says labeling someone as against progress suggests that your idea of progress is the only valid one. But what is their definition of progress? Yeah. I mean, so many times Republicans are asked, like, well, what do you stand for? They don't seem to stand for things. They stand against things, which again is being anti-progress. So, okay, conservatives, what's your definition of progress? Can't be going backwards. That's antithetical to what progress would be.
This is what I want, all right? I want to leave my front door unlocked. I want to have as many guns as I can without any questions, because it is my right. I
want to be progress. I'm adding more guns to my collection. Okay.
I want to be able to enjoy lemonade on the porch swing, dude, as the sun goes down, and my kids can stay out after dark. These are all the things that I want.
And here in San Francisco, you're going to get mud. Well, you don't freaking live in San Francisco, so stay on your porch in Alabama and enjoy your lemonade.
That's the greatest thing about our country, dude, is there is a town for everybody. You know, you don't like it, you can move, and you find another town that has more of those values, a low crime rate, a low this, a low that. Like, you can move around.
Isn't that why we have red and blue states? Because like-minded people seem to group together?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because when I was with Jen, her dad was saying that as soon as they're able to retire, they were going to move to Idaho, because that's where people thought like them politically.
And there's a lot of people that have done that I know, even from my own community, that have made that move to Texas or to Idaho, stuff like that. And I say, arrivederci. We went back to a lot of liberal people said, if Donald Trump becomes the president, I'm moving to Canada. I'm leaving the country. And Republicans got so pissed and said, good luck. See you later. Get out of our country, blah, blah, blah. But now, when all this stuff is happening with Joe Biden, they're like, I got to get out of here. I got to move. Well, if you go, you have that opportunity to do it, but don't talk about it because you made fun of everyone else for expressing how they felt that way.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a story sometime back where I think it was Viktor Orban in Hungary was offering MAGAites that wanted to move to Hungary that they'd be welcome there, and
I'm sure,
something like that.
How many people did it?
None, of course.
0. Yeah, exactly. The next thing on this list, and again, these are things you're not supposed to say to your Republican family and friends. All Republicans are the same. As we all know, nothing says I'm open-minded like lumping millions of people into a single category. This statement is a stereotyping trap. Is it, or is it a factual comment? Bill Maher once famously said that not all Republicans are racist, but all racists are Republicans.
Yeah.
So I think there is something to aligning yourself with a political party. You're aligning with a set of beliefs, so I'm not saying you're 100% the same, but you're all in the same boat, literally.
I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't agree with that. I've said the same thing about Catholics for years, all Catholics aren't the same, and
sure.
So, I'd be a hypocrite. There's got to be Republicans out there, again, like my brother, because that's my closest Republican, that I know I can at least have conversations with. There's some that are never going to change their mind. There are some that are like, I'm going to bite the bullet and vote for Joe Biden. So I think there's a rainbow of Republicans, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but here's my pushback on that, because I hear Republicans a lot say, listen, I don't like a lot of what Donald Trump does, but I got my tax cuts and my conservative judges. No, you're now willing to sacrifice your morals for the stuff you do want.
Agreed.
So silence is violence. Silence is complacent. Silence is going along with the people in your party. So I don't care if you actually don't like Trump. If you're still supporting him, then you're just as bad as the others. It's
silence is violence, dude. That's incredible, dude. That just blew my silence is violence.
Yeah, speak up or you're just as bad. It's like it's the good cop that won't out the bad cop. You're a bad cop now if you don't out the bad one. You're just as bad as him for not calling him out.
What does our own Brewski always say? If you see something, say something. You can't be quiet. Silence is violence, dude.
Yeah. So I would argue you all are the same because you're not outing the bad Republicans.
I will say that, just to push back just a little bit on this, there used to be this thing about Northeast Republicans. Northeast Republicans were fiscally conservative, but they weren't trying to ban abortion or anything like that.
Yeah.
The last two Republican governors that we had here in Massachusetts, Charlie Baker and Bill Weld. Charlie Baker, who was last governor before we got the new one, he actually had a lot of Democrats voting for him because he was that guy where, he was conservative as far as taxes and fiscal policy, but he also supported abortion rights here in Massachusetts.
Chris Christie is a great example of the person we're talking about right now. It's a Republican, has a lot of things about him that I don't like, but on the same token, he is standing up and saying, this is madness.
But the problem with Christie is that he has an axe to grind against Trump, whereas in my example with Charlie Baker, he had actual policy differences with Trump.
Right.
By the way, on this notion that all Republicans are not the same, most people nowadays who are the old school Republicans, they don't call themselves that anymore because
they're conservatives.
Or they're just, they're whatever. They don't want to call themselves, or they call themselves a traditional Republican, like we were talking about, because they know that a Republican right now is a MAGA, and they don't want to be that. So if you're calling yourself a Republican in this day and age, you are on that team, you are in that camp, and you are all basically the same
these days. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
For the most part.
Yeah.
What about a Liz Cheney, dude?
She still is, except she's got a problem with Trump. She's the same thing as Chris Christie. She's got an axe to grind against Donald Trump. She still supports all the other things that the Republicans support. She's the one also keeps coming out talking about that they do abortions after the birth of the baby, which is bullcrap. That doesn't happen at all. So there's a lot of things that she still spouts, but she just has a problem with Trump. So that's more of a personal axe to grind than a policy difference.
All right. Yeah, I see your point, dude. Valid.
Have you found anything on this author, Kendall Morgan?
I'm looking, I'm not finding anything.
All right, she might not be famous enough because I'm just the political bias she's showing in this is just blaring at me. The next one on this list is don't tell Republicans that you must hate the environment. Nothing says happy holidays like implying your loved ones actively support the apocalypse. Just because someone is Republican doesn't mean they don't care about the environment. But again, your entire party doesn't seem to. They seem to be anti-science, anti-regulation of polluting companies. They don't seem to give a crap about science behind it. So how can I not think that you don't like the planet? As I've said before, if I'm debating a Republican on climate change, if I'm wrong, the worst thing we did is clean up the planet. If you're wrong, you destroyed the earth.
Yeah.
So, I don't think you're a big fan of the planet.
No.
It's funny, dude, because there are so many climate change deniers, and I've never met one that's a Democrat. I mean, I've never met one that's a Democrat.
Exactly.
Shane Gillis has a great bit that he's doing on stage right now that's so funny. It's a story about Fox News dads and about when he goes home, he watches Fox News with his dad. And one of the things he says in there is like, my dad is so straight. All he talks about is eating pussy and fracking. And I was like, fracking. Yes. My brother talks about fracking. All Republicans. Yeah. I mean, we look at the world different. That's for sure. But most of our stuff is based in scientific facts.
Yes. I've said that a zillion times. Liberalism is logic. To be liberal is to be logical. It's to believe in science, treating people fairly. It's not ideology. We base it on something. And if you can show me my facts are wrong, I'll change my stance on something.
Sure.
You can't do that with somebody's ideology. You can't convince them anything's wrong. So.
Right. Yeah.
Who did she write this article for?
I am finding this on Media Feed, but her bias, it seems clear. So again, here, these are things you're not supposed to say to Republican friends or family. And she says the next one is just don't tell them that they're voting against their own interests. This is a classic thing with Republicans that back, I believe, in the Nixon days, the Southern strategy, wasn't that him?
Yeah.
He's convinced masses to somehow vote against their own interests. This is a documented political phenomenon that people in poor areas would be better off voting for Democrats, but for some reason they don't because they're pro-life or whatever dumb little pet project they like of one Republican thing.
It's a phenomenon.
It actually is. I mean, they have, we saw it with Trump, like people in West Virginia that have been on food stamps for years, voting for Trump. I got a person that I know who is a major Trumper and has been on disability, food stamps, Obamacare, has an Obama phone. I mean, he might as well mark it all off the list, and he continuously has voted for Trump. And they're talking about voting against your own interests. I don't know how we can't point that out. You shouldn't be offended. You should thank me and say, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that.
Right. Those things are in that person's interest. This woman says it is presumptuous and implies that you know what's better for them than they do. But of course, access to food, health care, like that. Yeah, that is good for people. I'm willing to stand by that statement.
Again, I mean, in West Virginia, one of the strongest places taken over by the opioid crisis. Like, you think that the Republicans are setting up drug counseling for you and getting you into rehab, all that stuff, while you can't work anymore because you're going through rehab? You think they're giving you the welfare check? No.
The next thing on this list, this woman says, and again, I'm feeling her bias coming through here. This is a woman. She says, do not say to conservatives that you must not care about women's rights, because clearly your loved ones are all secretly plotting to set feminism back 100 years. But what are the Republican stances against abortion? They're talking about the good old days, and it always goes back to when women couldn't vote and lock her up and all this, anti-woman stuff they came up with Hillary. Like, how can I not think that?
Grab him by the puss, dude. Come on.
I found her.
Yeah.
You found her? Is she a Republican, conservative?
I found her on the site called Muckrack. It says Kendall Morgan, contributor, Culture Map Dallas, Arts and Entertainment US, equally devoted to grammar and glamour. And as a matter of fact, the second article written here, she wrote that 7 days ago, is the one that Steve's quoting from right now.
Well, so maybe she's dipping her toe into politics, and seems to be backfiring / completely insincere. I mean, she's just talking down to liberals here.
Maybe she's telling you things that she has tried that have backfired on her in these conversations.
Oh yeah, truth hurts. So I get it. Doesn't mean we should stop selling the truth.
It's a tough one, dude. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I feel like you're right or not. And that's honest. I don't know if you're right or not.
Well, the correct answer probably is not to discuss these things at all, right?
Ooh, and I found her on Twitter, too.
I don't know, because I have a friend, dude, that is very liberal. He's transgender, and a lot of his posts that he talks about are like, you know what? If you still have friends or family member in your life right now that are Republicans, like you've had the conversations, like pull out from them. If you don't pull out at this point from those friends and family, silence is violence. And I have a hard time with that one. I do. I have a hard time because I feel like I'm not supporting him. And I have a hard time because I'm going to have to, you're telling me to leave family members behind?
I don't know if you should leave them behind, quote unquote, but you're not going to convince them. So what's the point of ruining Thanksgiving, right? I mean,
what he's saying is like, you know what? If you associate with people like that, if you support people like that, even in, call in, tell you have a bad day, like write those people out. They don't deserve any of your time or support because they are against everything that I stand for. Yeah. That's tough, dude.
I mean, friends, I probably would disassociate with if they were staunch conservatives, because what do we have to hang out and associate with? But
agreed.
Family members, you can't pick your family. So
no, it's true.
Not sure what you're hoping. Maybe if it's a younger generation, you might be able to sway them in one direction or the other. But your age or older, good luck. You're just messing up Christmas.
A friend that you guys know that is kind of a friend of the show. She listens to all our podcasts, and I don't want to say her name, but she recently, Hillary Clinton, yeah, that's who it is. She recently wrote to her mother. Her mother is a Republican, and they spend time together, obviously. Like, she comes into town to see her. They spend a couple of weeks at a time or whatever. And she's a liberal and a lesbian. And she sat down and lamented for a long time about writing this letter to her mother that basically said, like, these things really bother me. When you talk about transgender people, like, I don't know what she is doing. Like, when you say those things, like, they really, really bother me. And I want to continue, obviously, to have a good relationship. So if you could show me a little respect on that side. But she lamented for a long time about writing this letter. And is my mom going to be like, I can't do those things for you? That's pretty messed up.
Yeah. You finding any consistency in her Twitter posts?
No, and I think that I'm leaning towards what Nick has said about she's trying to save people from doing these things. Well, first of all, she retweeted something from Dianne Feinstein, and everything else beyond that, there's no other political posts. It's all like arts and entertainment type stuff. But I looked at the people she follows, and it's quite a bit of liberal folks, including Greta Thunberg and so forth.
This article should just be what I said. Just don't talk politics. Like, what can you say to a Republican that's not going to shut down the conversation?
Truth. That is so true.
Right. So I don't know. But the next thing she says don't say to the conservatives is you're anti-science. Don't tell them that. Even though their views on climate, their views on pollution, their views on religion, it's all anti-science. They even say themselves that there's a scientific cabal out there and they're trying to corrupt you. Like, that is anti-science. I can't call a spade a spade.
From every angle, I mean, to the argument of when a fetus becomes a life, from every angle, a lot of these conservatives deny actual science.
Right.
Not junk science, actual science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have many conservatives in our life, to be honest with you. And there was a day, and I don't know if this country ever goes back to when I was being raised. My parents always told me, don't talk politics. And the majority of people respected that. I never knew. I mean, you could tell from time to time, oh, they're really into this, and that. They must be a Republican or whatever. But you didn't know. We didn't hang flags outside our house that say, I'm a patriot.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a problem I've dealt with a lot, and there are some people who I assume are conservative, so I just don't go there because I still want to go ride a dirt bike with you. I don't want to know about your politics, and it's kind of sad, but
yeah,
that's where we're at.
Silence is violence, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We got some T-shirts we're printing off today. Freedom for what was it? Freedom for Brewski?
No,
Justice.
Justice for Brewski.
Silence is violence. Hope blue, no matter who. Yes, you are a champion. We should open a clothing store here.
We should. Merch coming soon.
All right, the next one on the surface, I think is I would agree with, and it's rude, but when you get down to it, I don't know if it's wrong. She says, don't say to your conservative friends and family, how can you be a Republican and claim to be a good person? Now, we all do know Republicans who I would argue, hey, you're a good person. You're a little misguided on some of these things, but it's a pretty valid point when you're against science, when you're against minorities, when you're against immigration, when you're like all of these things, like, yeah, you still feel you're a good person, though, huh? Even though you discriminate openly against so many categories in this world.
You know, on the other side of that coin, though, there are going to be all those people who pop out and say, I'm not against immigration. I'm for legal immigration.
Sure.
Yeah, and I don't understand or accept any of the nuance in that of people fleeing, violence and mayhem and murder. Like, there are no shades of gray. Immigration, black and white.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be like saying, like, well, but Hitler used to volunteer at the soup kitchen. I mean, he's not all bad. Yeah, okay, but you're mainly bad. So
on a scale of 1 to 7, dude, how bad was Hitler?
It's a 2.6. I don't know. What is 7 good or bad?
That 7's bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's normally a 7, but when he's volunteering at the soup kitchen, then he's a 1. I mean, come on, that time.
Yeah, he fed the hungry.
Yeah, this list is bothering me. The next one, don't tell them that they're anti-immigrant. Like you just said, like, oh, they're for legal immigration, but are they? Are they really?
Yeah, and I'm not against legal immigration myself, but do you know what it takes to legally immigrate? How long the process is and what goes into it. And I get it. You're into that. You want everyone to do it the right way, but the world is not as such. All right. I mean, I always say to my brother or anyone I care about that's a Republican, like, you're telling me that right now, if you were in a position to only flee violence, mayhem, and murder on your family, that you would be like, gotta do it legally. Right. Like, you're telling me that? No, I don't believe it. No,
it's this myth that everyone illegally immigrating must be a drug dealer or a terrorist or something.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me, like, you've seen these Karen videos where the woman at McDonald's is like, go back to Mexico, learn to speak English. So if I pointed out to that woman, oh, that guy did it legally, she'd be like, oh, never mind, then you're good. Come on in.
I'm so sorry.
No, she just doesn't want immigrants, period.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we have to pool you together. That's the risk of being a Republican right now. It's because the majority of you think this way. So you are going to be looped in with them. And if you don't like it, then it's time for you to make a change, dude.
Yeah. If you don't like the people that are making you look bad, well, maybe don't hang out with those people. Don't associate with them.
If you go to a party and you don't like the people, do you stay there? I usually go home, dude.
I mean, well, okay, but if there's an open bar, maybe I'll stick around for a little while.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not going to stick around all night now.
Well, that makes it tolerable if there's an open bar to listen to these idiots. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You get it. The next one on the list is don't tell them that they're just a gun nut. Why not accuse them of plotting a duel while you're at it? This is so condescending. Listen, if in this day and age, if you can't admit that we need any gun reform, any regulations, then yeah, you're an ammosexual. You're a gun nut. You don't see the forest through the trees. You don't see that there's a problem. So yeah, you're a gun nut.
It's our next t-shirt, dude. I'm a gun nut, an ammosexual.
Yes. If you can't acknowledge that we have a gun problem in this country, that we could use some reform, some improvements, then you're a freaking in denial gun nut.
If you have a bumper sticker on your car that is a Starbucks logo that says, I love guns and coffee, like, you've got issues, dude. I'm just here to tell you.
They probably wouldn't get this, but when they start talking about not being a gun nut, I'd be like, okay, Aaron Burr, whatever you say.
Who is Aaron Burr? Tell us.
Aaron Burr
shot Hamilton.
Yeah, exactly. He was the third vice president of the United States.
You've watched Hamilton. It's the third act.
Yeah.
And he had that big duel with Alexander Hamilton. Yeah.
You know what? All I remember is this. I'm not giving up my shot. I'm not giving up my shot.
Now, hold on. I was just telling Nick the other day that I went to my kid's musical, and halfway through, I'm like, I don't know what the plot of this thing is. Like, I have no idea. You watched Hamilton? You don't know that there's a big thing with Aaron Burr and shooting and all that stuff?
Let me be honest, dude. I watched Hamilton really because of your firstborn thought it was important, and so did my wife. They were both like, you gotta see it. It's the best thing ever. So I watched it, and I was entertained by it all. I can't say that I remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, Nick,
don't admonish me for not following musicals very well either.
Okay, fair enough.
the next time you come to Boston, Nick, I will bring you to a particular bar, and you can say to anybody else that you got more in depth with Alexander Hamilton than any of them ever did.
Okay, all right.
It's a bar dedicated to Alexander Hamilton called Hamilton.
Oh, that's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
Do they give away shots? Is that a promotional?
No, I'm not giving away my shot. Dude.
Oh, damn
You
it.
can't have it.
The next one on this list, things you're not supposed to tell your conservative friends. I can't be friends with a Republican. Now, we've talked about on the show before that there is a day and age where I would agree that, just because we disagree on tax cuts, we shouldn't be saying that. But nowadays, you're talking about morals.
Yeah.
And that's why I
Unfortunately.
can't date a Republican. And why would I be friends with a Republican? Because I disagree with you on a moral human level.
From the interior of your soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's a question, Steve.
Yeah.
If she was really hot, could you bang a Republican?
Yes. That's not being friends. That's friends with benefits. That's
Yeah, you could do that.
But
You could do
honestly,
that.
no. I mean, honestly, no. I mean, I'm not looking for casual hookups, and I've said in my dating world, like that's just an immediate deal breaker.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
a Trump-loving conservative and all that. So
Danger. Danger.
the last one I will put on the list here is you're just afraid of change. But again, make America great again implies you want things not to change, not to be progressive. So, yeah, I think you are afraid of change.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of these, dude, that I think are really light. I don't have any problem saying that to a Republican. Like, hey, you seem to be afraid of change. I mean, that's going to hurt your feelings.
It's like saying it seems to be raining because I'm standing outside and I'm getting wet. Like, yeah, you do seem to be against change. Like
Some of the stuff where you're outwardly, punching their morality and saying like, you're a crap bag because you do this, you do that. Like, you got to ease into some of that stuff. But some of these, just come right out and say it, dude. I mean, this is one of your tenets, right? Like, you are against change, right?
again, make America great again. You obviously are again. You don't like things that have changed. You want to go backwards. So don't make it your slogan if it's not true.
Yes.
So happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, good luck with all that. I mean, seriously, I would love to see the converse side of this article. Okay, lady, what should I be saying to conservatives then that won't offend their little snowflakiness?
Maybe this is a peace treaty for 24 hours on Thanksgiving, peace treaty on Christmas. I mean, if you're going to be around those people, you probably shouldn't even have these conversations because they'll probably not go anywhere other than in the garbage.
Would this woman encourage Hamilton? Like, don't speak out against the king. Like, it's going to offend the king. Don't tell him that he's so into taxes. Like, how do we have a conversation then if we can't speak the freaking truth?
Yeah,
This is true.
Some of these conversations are hard. They come to a fever pitch where at some point it has to take place. It has to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if things are going to keep being so politically crazy, some of these conversations are going to have to be had, or I hate to sound like old DT, but you're not going to recognize this country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally true. So many conservatives hold the founding fathers up as being the gospel. They can do no wrong. They're infallible. But they were all about progress and change. They literally went across the freaking ocean to get away from all that crap, start a new country where we could be a melting pot and every human has their own basic rights as long as you're not a woman or black. But, you know, like they were the kings of progress and change.
Yeah.
So when did all that stop? They
Yeah.
wrote a constitution that has amendments. By definition, things you change. Yet nowadays, it's like, no, they were perfect. They were correct. Don't change the Constitution. Like, No.
Well, enough is enough. I mean, come on. Enough is enough. That's my next T-shirt. Enough is enough. We don't want to change.
Invite Uncle Jack Daniels to the next holiday party because it's the only way you get through it if you got to talk politics. So.
Those loose lips sink ships, dude. I mean, you could be opening up a can of worms. Don't get too drunk. Just get a little buzz on.
Yeah. It's all fair. So I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. I think if you're going to have these conversations, be real, be honest, call a spade, or just don't bother. So I don't agree with almost any of that crap on that list that, don't hurt their feelings by telling them they're anti-science when they are proudly anti-science. Like,
you got anyone on your list that you plan to have a conversation with for the holidays?
All of the harnesses that were conservatives are dead. You know, when we have gatherings, it's all like-minded people. And I've weeded them out on my Facebook page from old high school idiot classmates or whatnot. And friends of mine, why would I be hanging out with you if you're staunchly conservative?
Brewski?
I don't have anybody currently that I need to have a conversation with. No.
You know what, dude? This is, we don't have to dive deep into this, but it just made me think, what about children and parents from the other end? Like, if you found out your son or daughter were a staunch Republican.
It's funny you mentioned that because my kid, if you look at his Facebook profile and you look at his information, it says that he's a Republican and he's Catholic. But knowing that he grew up in Indiana, right in South Bend, I'm not surprised by it because you get a lot of the things that you think are right with the world from those who raise you.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, on either side, right? I mean, there's some sort of indoctrinating that happens, and hopefully in your formative years, you start to make some of your own decisions and stuff like that. But I mean, it comes from somewhere. So you think he's Republican, but hanging around, you guys have never got into it.
No, because here's the thing, though. He follows me on Twitter. He knows where I stand.
Well, and I mean, that's my point right there, dude, is there are these people in our lives that we're obviously still going to have some relationships with. And it's just up to set up these fences of what does that relationship look like? Hopefully, if you want to talk about it, you can. But sometimes things are better left unsaid. Am I not right?
No, you're right a lot of the time, and you're not going to change your uncle or your grandpa's mind and that kind of thing. Now, for me, if my kids came to me and started espousing conservative crap or whatever, I would view that as if they came to me and said, I like Nazis now, or I love heroin.
Would you feel their forehead, see if they had a fever?
Yeah, I would do an intervention. I would get involved, because again, nowadays, left and right is speaking to your morals. So where did you go off the deep end? Where did I lead you astray? We're going to talk about this.
Right.
My son, a couple of months ago, spouted some conservative talking point. I think he said he heard that MSNBC was not a real news network. I think that's what it was. And Neo and I both were like, pause, where did you hear that? I didn't hear that from any of us. So where are you getting that stuff from? I want to know. And he got guys geez, I'm like, you're getting that crap from TikTok or something. And that's fine. I'm not going to throw you off TikTok, but we need to talk about that because that is a conservative baloney talking point. And he got very oh, geez, am I in trouble? But kind of I don't want to hear that kind of crap. And let's get into where you heard it so I can debunk it. I'm not just going to go, agree to disagree, son.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Therein lies the difference, right? Brewski's got an adult son who is what he is, and you have, young kids.
Teenager.
Yes, my kids are still in formidable years, and I have a chance to be part of that. And again, someone years ago was all right, you're a parent. Are you going to talk about politics and religion? My parents never did. My parents never brought up politics or religion. But I was like, no, I'm definitely going to bring all that up because I'm trying to teach these kids, and these are things that I have opinions on and beliefs on. If they grow up and want to become whatever, then that's your choice at that stage. But I feel negligent if I didn't speak out against conservative politics or certain religions and whatnot.
Don't you find it interesting, though, that your parents never spoke about politics and you grew up the way you did, which is pretty much just like them, which leads me to think that a lot of these actions, these thoughts are displayed this is how I live my life. I'm good to people. I want to do this. Like, you learn that from them, even silently, right?
Yeah. Back in those days, there were finite differences between the two parties. But, my parents raised me to be a good moral person, not because I'm afraid to go to hell or something, just because it's the right thing to do. So that naturally, as politics split, put me into the left category.
Right.
So, yeah, this is not a time in political history to be just let your kids be whatever they want to be, because who cares? Like, no, it speaks to your morals. It speaks to ethics. It speaks to how we treat other people. So,
would they be grounded? Like, if I don't want to use Crosby as a personal example, but like, if your kid came to you and said, like, I'm a Republican, I'm sorry, I read everything, this is how I feel, I want to be this, would they be grounded?
That would be like one of my kids coming to me and saying, I'm a genie now, or like, how could you be? That's not possible.
But it is in this scenario. I mean, what are you going to send them to therapy?
Listen, I would get to the root of it. Just like if my daughter came to me and said, I'm a stripper now, like, okay, but why are you a stripper? Why are you a Republican? Where is this coming from? That's what I'm going to get at the root of. And then you'll figure out the rest on your own.
So you think all strippers are Republican?
No, definitely not. I'm saying some strippers do it because they were abused or drug addicted. Like they have something terrible that has led them to that lifestyle. Just like conservatives. Like if you're a hate-filled, anti-science, discriminatory person, you're going to end up in the Republican Party. So I won't address the fact that you're Republican. I'll go to the root and figure out why are you relating to that.
Ooh,
and I've said before with adult entertainment, if you're doing it from empowerment, great. If you're doing it because your daddy diddled you and that's all you know, that's your only value, then we got to get to the root problem here, not the symptom,
Yeah. Well, that's good work right there.
Thank you,
Steve.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. That'll wrap it up for us today.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, you're welcome.
I always appreciate your opinions, your thoughts.
I don't know if that's true, but I appreciate you saying that.
Well, we do. I mean, even if we don't agree with it, we like to hear it, So that's what the show's all about. Brewski, thank you for our gifts, and thank you for the gift that is you, old friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve, a la Brewski. That's just the title. It doesn't mean Brewski's any less important, Crosby.
He's got his own caveats, actually. We're just Nick and Steve, two humans. You've got like a la Brewski. Like that's a special acknowledgement there. So.
All right. Say goodbye, Brewski.
Goodbye, Brewski.
And we say bye-bye.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Stop.
Are you done playing things?
I'm done.